The fact that he's just been going out, I guess, having a knees up most nights, and just sort of having a bit of a party, as it were.
What exactly is a knees up? I'm not familiar with that expression.
A knees up is basically, it is a party. In fact, there's a song called Knees Up Mother Brown. And people kind of drop their knees up, Mother Brown, with their knees and stuff.
Good news, Matt. If you ever decide to start an OnlyFans, I think we've got the title for you.
Right. There we go. Okay. Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 6 of A Very Special Relationship. And they said it wouldn't last. My name's Matt Johnston. I host a show called The Interesting Times on YouTube, and my political partner from the US is Andrea Bridges-Smith, the CEO and presenter of Fenix News, also on YouTube. And we chat about what's making the news in the last few days on both sides of the pond. We get specific about the Atlantic. It doesn't really make sense. Andrea, anyway, how are you? How are things going over there?
Well, Matt, they're pretty chaotic if I'm being honest, but that's standard at this point. What about you? What's been happening over there?
Well, maybe not over here, but I saw that it was the G7 in Japan last week, which gave our respective leaders a chance to show how wealthy and important they are. And interestingly, I noticed that this time, President Biden actually recognized Prime Minister Sunak. Well, I've got to say that's not bad going, really, because that's probably more than half the UK population can do.
Yes, he's really been hitting those flashcards hard. He's studying.
Very good. I am impressed. Also, last week saw something called the National Conservative Conference in London, where those on the right of the Conservative Party, yes, apparently they do exist. I mean, how much further right do you have to go? Anyway, they meet up and they talk about family values and nationalism. And come on, was Hitler so bad?
I'm going to go with yes. Yes, he actually was. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Agreed. But one of the more eyebrow-raising speeches was given by a certain Jacob Rees-Mogg. Now, for those of our American friends that don't know who Jacob Rees-Mogg is, just imagine you put glasses on a pasty-faced snake and put it in a badly fitting suit.
Yes, so here we'll show a quick picture of him. I find his head to be unnaturally tall. Do you as well?
Yeah, that's the guy. Really rather odd looking. Anyway, Jacob went to Eton and Oxford. Now, of course, these are two seats of learning that have international renown, but you wouldn't know it to listen to him talk. Now, at the conference, Jacob decried Labour's attempts to gerrymander, as he put it, the electorate by giving EU citizens that live in the UK the right to vote, before then admitting that that's what the Conservative Party had done by introducing voter ID. Now, by the way, gerrymandering, and I didn't know this, gerrymandering is a word with an American origin, I believe, Andrea. Is that right?
Yes, comes from a fellow named Gerrymander, and Jerry had a penchant for drawing unusual property borders around his farm. He once annexed half of his neighbor's tomato garden with an oddly shaped picket fence.
How about that? So we, in fact, have you guys to thank for that one, then?
Yes, you can thank us for democracy as well as the destruction of it. Those are two of our favorite exports. And speaking of people who love a good gerrymander, the Republican presidential field is getting quite crowded just a quick year and a half before the next presidential election. And Matt, with your permission, I would like to borrow British National Treasure Sir David Attenborough for this next candidate. Is that all right?
Well, yes, of course. I mean, he's not just a national treasure, but I like to think a world one.
Excellent. Okay, here we go. Here we find Timmus scotus, a rare species indeed. A member of the North American black conservative species. They're rarely seen in the wild, or indeed anywhere at all.
Very good. I've got to say, somebody's been practicing in front of a mirror, haven't they? I mean, let's not kid ourselves. That's very good, though. I'm very impressed.
You're not the only one that can trot out a British accent at will, sir. So we've got Tim Scott, who has just entered the race. We've got Nikki Haley, Vivek Ramaswamy, Larry Elder, curiously another black conservative. There's like 10 of them total. Then we've got Asa Hutchinson, and of course Donald Trump. Mike Pence may be soon to follow. And as we are recording on Wednesday, the 24th, Ron DeSantis is poised to wade into this fray this evening with the help of Elon Musk. And I'm sure no controversy will follow that discussion at all.
Wow, I got to say, that does sound like quite the packed field. Are any of them doing anything to, stand out? Like, I don't know, having rational, sensible policies which will benefit the country?
Absolutely not. No, everybody's big goal is to compete to see who can be the biggest fascist, and half of them are treating Donald Trump like Voldemort. They're saying things like, I will have slightly fewer lawsuits thrown at me than he who must not be named, yes, lest ye summon his wrath. Ooh. Guys, he's not the Eye of Sauron. He's a whiny toddler in a big suit. Grow a pair. Take this guy on, but not necessarily by becoming him. Now, there is a new poll that just came out showing that the majority of Americans have concerns about the mental fitness and acuity of both Biden and Trump, who are the two current frontrunners, both of whom are very old. And this begs the question, I'm wondering if you guys have leaders whose brains have turned to mush as well, or are they just your garden variety assholes?
Oh, well, I suppose a little bit of A for asshole and a little bit of B for brains turned to mush. Oh, speaking of which, our favourite ex-Prime Minister, well, certainly one we like to talk about a lot, is Boris Johnson, the last person to be elected Prime Minister by what we might consider the conventional route. Yeah. So he has been reported for flouting lockdown rules. Now, I know what you're going to say. Wait a minute, didn't that happen already? Well, yes. Yes, but what's happened is these are more flouting. What's happened is some members of Johnston's taxpayer-funded legal team who are preparing him for the pandemic inquiry, they have come across some of his diary entries which seem to show he flouted lockdown rules on even more occasions than we knew about. But some other taxpayer-funded lawyers who are defending Johnston against claims he lied to Parliament say he's done nothing wrong, at least according to Johnston, that is. Johnston has now ditched the first set of lawyers and called this, you gotta love this, he's called this a witch hunt of Trumpian proportions. Right? All right? How about that? So he has shown he has no problem aligning himself to an extremely loyal, but let's be honest, ever-decreasing part of the population. Johnston himself isn't even facing the press over here because, even more incredibly, he's over there in America, or specifically in Las Vegas. Oh, no. Las Vegas. There we go. Possibly one last gamble on his political career, right? And interesting that there's a number of Conservative Party conferences that are happening over here who are very pro Boris Johnson. And it has to be said, he's gone to what appears to have been a networking event in America. So could that field of Republican candidates be getting slightly bigger?
Now, Matt, we have talked about this. America has got our hands full with our own assholes, and I really must insist that you either take Boris back or banish him somewhere appropriate. I heard Siberia's lovely this time of year.
Well, why don't we wait until it's not so lovely and send him then?
Even better. So you said one thing that I found to be interesting. You were talking about Boris Johnson's diary entries. And I got a real interesting mental picture in my head at that point. What do you think a Boris Johnson diary would look like? What do those pages show?
Wow, yeah. That's the question, isn't it? It's the car crash of politics, in all honesty. Let's not kid ourselves. You kind of want to read them, but you definitely don't want to live through them. That's the point, I guess. But I'm guessing he would show a certain amount of joviality, loads of the fact that he's just been going out, I guess, having a knees up most nights, and just sort of having a bit of a party, as it were, and just lying.
What exactly is a knees up? I'm not familiar with that expression.
You don't have that in America? Okay.
Well, we might, but I'm not sure it means the same thing over here as it does over there.
Oh, okay. Well, a knees up is basically, it is a party. It's it's to do with the fact that, as far as I know, it's to do with the type of dance where you In fact, there's a song called "Knees Up, Mother Brown," and people kind of drop their knees up, Mother Brown, with their knees and stuff, and it's something to do with that, as far as I'm aware. But that's where the expression comes from. Everybody talks about a knees up; they tend to mean a party, basically. But
okay, well, I think a knees up, good news, Matt. If you ever decide to start an OnlyFans, I think we've got the title for you.
Right. There we go. Okay. Well, again, depending on how well the party goes, I suppose. And oh, that's another thing. Boris Johnson is his wife is pregnant with child number 3 with her, and child number 7 in total, I believe, that we know of. So there you go. The knees up seems to be working for him, certainly.
Well, congrats to everyone involved in that whole scenario. He is a fertile man, isn't he?
Yeah. Depressingly so.
Yes. So one other thing that I wanted to talk about is something that both of our countries have in common besides reprehensible leadership, and that is immigration not going well. So it seems like you might have the same problem that we do, where the whole immigration process just really does not go smoothly. So what's happening over on your end?
Oh, well, here's the thing. Rishi Sunak, obviously our Prime Minister, is the son of immigrants. And when he became Prime Minister, he made 5 pledges, one of which being stop the boats. Essentially, when people try and flee to the UK, they're fleeing, obviously, from a lot of them are fleeing for war-torn countries, climate-ravaged countries, etc. And he's going to put a stop to that. Yes.
Great. Terrific.
Now, he has put a lady called Suella Braverman, who is the Home Secretary, in charge of this. And she's, as the name suggests, she's the daughter of immigrants. Now, it's pretty fair to say that she's extremely bad at her job, and she keeps screwing up. But she's got one thing going for her, because being the daughter of immigrants and a woman of colour means she can and does put in some pretty horrendous and inhumane policies. For instance, I'll give you an example. She mentioned one time about having a dream of flying refugees to Rwanda, and that would be her wish, if you like. To give you some idea of what sort of person that she is. And then when people turn around and say, that's terrible and you're a racist, it means that the racist can turn around and say, no, come on, how can it be racist when she's doing this? It's pretty vomit-inducing.
Yeah, so we've got similar policies over here coming with people from pastier skin. We have this thing where after migrants leave their violent drug war, gang war-ridden countries and walk here, in a lot of cases, usually across a few other countries, then instead of, feeding them and sheltering them and making sure they're okay, we stick them on a bus and bus them to another city very far away that, takes like 10 hours to get to. So, but flying them to Rwanda, maybe don't tell Ron DeSantis about that, because he'll get excited.
Yeah.
The reason that people are coming over here, we happen to sit due north of several countries who have a lot of gang violence and drug violence and violence and just all of your types of violences, and so they come here to have a slightly lower chance of being shot at, although not if the GOP has anything to say about it.
Right.
So really, Matt, human rights, how bad do we need them anyway?
Well, we are definitely with you on that. Now, several members of the Conservative Party, they've actually turned around and said that we should leave something called the ECHR, which is the European Court of Human Rights. As those pesky lawyers, you know what they do? They keep protecting the human rights of people.
Oh, that's awful.
Yeah, outrageous. Now, to give you some idea of what that would mean, there are only 2 countries in Europe that have left the ECHR. Belarus is one of them, and I bet you can name the other.
Ooh, let's see. Does it rhyme with Musha?
Yep.
I had a feeling that it might.
Yeah. To give you some idea of the company that we would be keeping if we decided to do that.
Yeah, they say that politics makes for strange bedfellows, but in that case, we might just want to set the bed on fire.
Good idea.
All right, well, that's all that we have time for today. So thank you, Matt, so much for being here. Always good to talk to you.
Pleasure.
And thanks to all of our listeners/viewers out there for all the listening/viewing that you've been doing. If you want more from us, check out Matt's channel at The Interesting Times UK on YouTube for all things British politics with a side of comedy so you don't cry while you're watching it. And for the American version of that, head on over to at Fenix News Network, that's FENIX, also on YouTube. Cheers, everyone, and we will see you next week.
Bye-bye.